I don't do trials or proof of values with just anybody because you'll find out really quick when, you'll hear it all the time. People say, oh, yeah, you could try this out. And all you have to do is connect it to your tenant. And the next thing you know, you look at the permissions it's requesting and they want to see literally everything. They'll try to say, oh, we have an NDA in place and that's going to protect us. If you're just doing this one component for me, why do you need everything in my tenant? Why do you need these permission sets?
Welcome to Audience First, a podcast for tech marketers looking to break out of the echo chamber to better understand their audience and turn them into loyal customers. Every week, Danny Wolf has brutally honest conversations with busy tech buyers about what really motivates them, the things they hate that vendors do, and what you can do about it. Get access to practical information on how to build authentic relationships with your audience. Listen to and talk with your buyers, and apply real customer insights to your strategies and tactics. You owe it to the world to unmute your mic. Are you ready?
Okay, welcome to another episode of Audience First. As always, I have a very special guest with us today. I have the one and only Nick Ryan. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Nick, remind me, how did we actually meet? Because I know it was through LinkedIn and I know it was through a mutual connection, but what's the backstory there? Because I just can't remember.
Yeah, no. So it's actually Carlos Guerrero. So he had been very interactive with my post for quite a while. We met a few times, had some good calls, and he was like, "Hey, you have to meet Danny. Good people. Like, let's get you in touch with her." And then, boom. Next thing you know, you and I we're chatting away, and hey, let's get on it and do something. So, shout out to Carlos. Thanks for connecting us.
Yeah, Carlos is really good people's, and I apologize, I don't even remember that. It's been a hectic week,
Yeah.
but I'm so glad that we finally got to connect, and it took us a minute. So Nick, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And why the hell do you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yeah, I'm from San Diego, and I've been out here for quite a while. Grew up in Colorado, but always been into tech. Um, and then as I got more into the technology space, I mean, I started out in sales originally, so it's kind of an interesting spin. So, started out in sales, but could do the whole up and down, and the inconsistencies and not being able to plan. Say, oh yeah, let's go on a vacation in 2 weeks or whatever it might be, or a month. That was always a little more difficult. And I was doing cold calling. So it was like, grinding my teeth. Like, this sucks. Nobody wants to talk to me. It's the worst. So I always had a fond appreciation for anybody in sales. But anyway, got into tech and in my way out to California and then got in the accounting industry. So there was a smaller firm in California. We had about 700 people. I was the head of IT for quite a number of years. And then we did a merger where we merged into Baker Tilly, which we're a lot bigger now. We're about 7,500 people. So anyway, I took over all of security and governance, risk, and compliance. So dealing with everything that has to do with security. So it's been a great shift and finally realized like, oh, this is why I've always been naturally drawn to security. It just comes easy to me. I love it. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing for a little bit here. And why do I do it? It's exciting. It's there's always something new. I thought that, to me, it's like I'm a forever student, forever learner. So the more that comes out, the cooler problems we get to solve, and being able to connect with so many different people, at the board level and the risk committee, and all these different walks of life, and talk security with them, break it down for them. It's pretty cool. So that's why I do it.
So it sounds like you're also a learner, but you like to be a teacher and a mentor as well.
Totally. Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, honestly, it's you know, being able to pass on what you've learned and be able to build other people up, mentor others, that's so fulfilling. Because I wish I had that. I did not have that. I had to, hit my head in a lot of different ways. And I wish I had somebody that could help out. I don't know if you had mentors in your walk, but oh gosh, I wish I sure did.
Yeah, I on purpose try to find really, really smart people that I could kind of use as a soundboard. So that to me is critical. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have a couple mentors in my arsenal. So
Sure. Are they all like specialized, or how do you set them up?
yeah, very specialized in very niche topics.
A new concept somebody brought up to me was they have a what they call a board of directors for their personal life, and so they have like kind of a mentor or somebody that they go to in like 10 different lanes. So from practical, like a lawyer to an accountant to a finance person to actually like emotional well-being. Like there's just somebody. I mean, that might be a little overkill, but it's a good concept, right? Of making sure that like if you're not the expert or you need help and guidance in some way, you know, connect with those people that can help out. There's a lot of willing people out there.
100%, 100%. I have someone for the emotional side, not gonna lie. I have someone for, learning how to niche down,
Hmm.
and then someone for doing sales.
Hey, there you go. Hey, honestly though, that emotional support is massive, massive,
Huge.
especially with all the burnout and all that crap that's going on. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, huge. So it's been super fruitful, recommended for anyone, and I like the concept of having a BOD for your personal life. Super cool.
totally. Yeah.
All right. So, Nick, what do you hate most about the cybersecurity industry?
Yeah, I think buzzwords annoy the hell out of me. Mostly because they're used by non-technical people. Um, and like the slides that I call it architecture, where it just looks so sexy and the concept makes sense, but then they're using it in terms of just trying to use this buzzword like zero trust, right? Zero trust or sassy or things like that. It's it's annoying, and
Yeah.
I really don't like it. Just it almost like it's a disingenuous undertone to it, right? Like you're coming up with this new what you think is this new space, and you're trying to call it something that is attractive, which I understand, right? I see both sides of it, but yeah, I don't necessarily like it because if you get into those conversations and deeply pull those topics apart, you'll find out that most of the people that are saying them don't actually understand what it really means.
I got it. So I want to drill down into that a little bit more. What is it about zero trust and sassy that kind of ticks you off? I mean, again, you mentioned people don't understand what it actually means and they're using it, wildly out of context probably,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
what is it? Why?
Well, so the name itself, because what zero trust really is at the core of it is trust but verify, right? Like you're
Mhm.
actually trying to make sure that you can give out trust. Because if you had zero trust, I mean, literally no one would get into the system ever, right? So it's just it's an absolute term, um, and that's I think that's the problem with it, right? Is this absolute term, and then the tools that claim like, oh, we do zero trust. Like, well, you got to give me more than that. Does that mean microsegmentation? Like you have all these parts, or does it mean that you're doing least privilege? Like, what does it really mean? Um, so I think that's sort of the it's a fun sounding word. But then once you break it down more, it's just kind of there's so much more to it. There's so many more layers.
Okay, so as a CISO for Baker Tilly, what's currently your one bleeding neck challenge?
I think it's all around data, um, managing of data, and part of it is there's so many different tools out there that are being used and data that's being brought in, and just trying to stay on top of the data sources, the tagging, making sure that things are getting tagged appropriately. That's a real challenge, and it's only getting more and more so when you have new tools popping up every single day. It's pretty insane how quickly they come to the party.
Mhm. What's the ultimate goal you're trying to achieve as a CISO?
I think it's really to protect the firm's revenue. I know it sounds super cliche, but legitimately, I would feel like the biggest failure if we had an incident that led to, Baker Tilly being on the front page of some newspaper or, Security Weekly, like, oh, look what happened to Baker Tilly. Don't do that. You don't ever want to be associated with that. I mean, but you can't go out there and say you never want to be in an incident. I mean, everybody if you have not been in a security incident, you have not been in the industry long enough. Like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Um, so I think just keeping the firm out of financial harm, right? Like a privacy case when we have California presence, so we have to worry about CCPA and things like that, and that would be a real bad time if we had to pay out millions and millions of dollars. That would be the ultimate failure. So trying to stay away from that.
Yeah. What kind of tools are helping you achieve your current goal right now?
Yeah, I think there's so many, but ultimately, I'm having a lot of success with um, Carbon Black, for example. It's a fantastic tool that we have a lot of great things come out of it. It helps us have a lot of control. Um, as far as like data specifically, though, I mean, there are so many good tools out there. Like one of the products that I've been kind of messing around with and we're getting more and more involved is a product called Secure Circle.
Hmm.
Um, and the idea is CrowdStrike actually just bought them, but the idea is that they offer transparent encryption on every single file in the environment. So that's not even just like PDFs and Word doc. It's literally DLLs, everything gets encrypted. And the idea is that if something were to get compromised or an insider were to, oh, I'm going to put this in my personal Dropbox account or whatever, it doesn't matter to the firm because if it's not on an approved device or an approved user, it's just going to be gibberish. It's going to be encrypted. So it's almost like a benevolent ransomware, which is kind of funny,
Hmm.
but um, that's super cool to solve that problem of data, like making sure it's in the right place at the right time and the right users. So that's a huge, really cool product.
Take me back to the day when you first decided to evaluate. What was it? Security Circle, you said?
Secure Circle.
Secure
Yeah,
Circle. Shout out to Secure Circle.
there you go.
Uh, Tell me what happened.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, so we kind of started out with, I knew that DLP wasn't cutting it, data leakage prevention, just because it's all rules based stuff. And uh, it's only as good as the rules are. And it's a lot to manage and things fall through the cracks. And, like, for example, like it'll say, oh, we're looking for, 3 digits dash 2 digits dash 4 digits. And that's a social security number. And it's like, well, what if they put periods or what if they just run the number? Is it a phone number? Is it, so there's just the knowledge there with the model was struggling. So we started looking and I forget how exactly we started the conversation, but I don't know if they were referred to me or how we got in. But either way, we got in and they did a really good job of trying to understand, the problem. But also what I liked about them too is they were more focused on like, here's how we're solving it for other people and not try to say, Nick, we're going to fix all your problems for you. And this is going to be the best time ever.
Hmm.
Um, and, or making me feel bad about it. Right. Cause sometimes I don't know about you, but I've been around, salespeople that will kind of put the FUD back into security. Right. And be like, you have to do this. If you're not doing this, like things are so bad. And, you know, kind of scaring you that way. So anyway, they did a really good job of just kind of being real about the problem, um, showing me success that the other customers were having, and then we started a trial, and it was like, this is fantastic, and it really works. Um, but also, they were upfront about some of their shortcomings, and that's been cool too, just to see the growth from initially when we started talking of the product to now. It's grown a lot. So those are some things that were done really well.
That's awesome. But why didn't you do it sooner? Like you mentioned you were, doing DLP. Not sure with who. It's irrelevant. It's good enough context here. But
Sure.
what changed that you decided now is the time to go with Secure Circle?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, to me, there's following the roadmap that I have has been strategically placed, in the way that it is. And, the first thing that I had to do when I got in here was Carbon Black and, putting in a really robust stack there. I don't want to get into specifics, but we have a lot going on there, which is great. And that's once we were able to button that all up, everything was great. Then we could focus on, the next step of the puzzle. And for that roadmap, it was let's protect our data.
Hmm.
So, um, not that we have everything perfect, but that's kind of how the progression was kind of like, okay, we need to, in the roadmap that we have that was approved by the risk committee and blessed by legal team saying, okay, that's a great, trajectory. Let's go do that. It fell in that route. There were some things we had to button up first and then we could get started on it. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so it wasn't like, I was super wildly unhappy with, we were using just a built-in Microsoft DLP, but we were ready for something much more advanced. And so then once we had some of the other stuff we had to take care of done, the time's right.
Yeah. Take me through what you did and thought about during that journey of evaluating the solution when you all were ready. Like
Yeah.
did anyone influence you to buy? Where did you spend your time to find the solution?
It was just hilarious because I saw a clip from another podcast he had where the guy was like, "Oh yeah, the Gardner Magic Quadrant," which is
Yeah.
so funny because nobody looks at that. He's so right. Um, no, I mean ultimately to me, I am a big fan of bringing in other parties. I don't remember the other ones that we looked at, but there were a couple others that we looked at, and to me, it's more about once you start talking to somebody, you can find out pretty quickly from them even who their competitors are, who do you go up against. And, to me, I'm huge on vulnerability and transparency. So if I ask them, which I ask every single vendor, you know, what makes your competitor product better than yours? Like, what do they do better than you do? And then they'll ask them the other question, what do you think that you do better than them? And if they give me a real softball BS answer about what the competitor does better, like, oh, they're really cool, marketing slides, like that to me is like, I don't want to hear that crap. I want to hear genuinely, where do you lose out and why? That helps me kind of put the pieces together about, oh, okay, cool. Like they're doing this well. And not, I take it with a grain of salt, but it is something to think about then when I go to the competitor and say, hey, look, I don't say, oh, your competitor told me. It's not that. It's just like, hey, I heard, is this something you guys come up against? How do you solve that? So anyway, that's part of my own process of going through this. Um, yeah, and then being a larger organization, we're not massive, but 7,500 people. There is an element of how do you implement something like this, right? And all that's a question for all products, because generally speaking, just enabling something or installing something across the entire company or organization, that's a big lift. You're not just doing that, um, with that many people without any repercussions. So you got to really think about what's the plan. Are we going to slow roll it? Are we going to do a year rollout? Are we going to do this one department? Just kind of piecing together what makes sense and look at your risk register and say, okay, I need to solve this problem for this group first, legal, HR, whoever it might be, more sensitive type service lines. So those are sort of all the components that go into getting something like this across the finish line.
Mhm. You mentioned that you had a free trial. So you got to use the product, kind of self-service, check it
Yeah.
out. What's your take on free trials? Are enough vendors offering free trials? Is that a key factor in deciding whether or not to purchase a solution or not?
That's a great question. I mean, of course, there are concerns with it too, right? I don't do trials with or proof of values with just anybody,
Mhm.
especially if because you'll find out really quick when you'll hear it all the time. People say, "Oh yeah, you could try this out, and all you have to do is connect it to your tenant." And the next thing you know, you look at the permissions it's requesting, and oh, they want to see literally everything, right? And they'll try to say, "Oh well, we have an NDA, we have an NDA in place, and that's going to protect us." And it's like, well, if you're just doing this one component for me, why do you need everything in my tenant? Why do you need these permission sets? So it's not across the board that I like that. The other part of it too is sometimes things are a pain in the ass to unwind after you get them in your environment. So it's like you gotta be real smart, careful about which stuff you allow to do that trial, the proof of value. But in this case, it made perfect sense. It's like, yeah, we need to see how this actually works. So we did it in a sandbox environment. Um, and I think ultimately, too, it is good that companies offer proof of value or free trials because to me, that shows that they're willing to stand behind their product, right? If your product wasn't going to hit it and, knock out the needs of the customer, why would you set it in front of them and just say, yeah, try it out, let us know? Another great example is Abnormal Email Security, great product. And we did a proof of value there and they were able to show us where to the point where it's like, they're not even selling at this point. They're just showing us results. And we're the ones saying, yeah, let's invest.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. That to me is so valuable because, I've been thinking about it over the weekend and I've gotten some feedback from other cybersecurity professionals, a lot of insight through the podcast episode and I'm thinking, well, product usage is such great validation and feedback that could be applied back to all core business functions within the organization versus going based on assumption, working with, these expensive vendors to come up with positioning and messaging that doesn't correlate or tie back to what you're offering as a product.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm loving this. And this is something, this is a mindset that I'm trying to get my head around because I've been so used to the traditional framework of marketing and sales,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not so sure that's scalable based on all the conversations I'm having with my guest on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to figure this out myself and see how to navigate that. And this is something that I'm probably going to touch on in next episodes. And so that's super cool. All right.
Yeah.
So um are there any differences or anomalies right now in the market that we can learn from or take advantage of to stand out in your eyes?
Yeah, in my opinion, one of the best things is to actually become active on LinkedIn. I know this sounds so trivial, but it makes such a difference. Like every single security executive that I know hates getting blasted with connection requests that have to pitch in the request, right?
Mhm.
I don't even know you when you're already pitching me. Or if it's like, I don't even know you, I accept the request. And then the very first thing you ever say to me is, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time? Here's why, right? And it's like, this is not the way to go about it. But just being a genuinely good person and just being an active part of the community in LinkedIn to me is so valuable because it allows all of us to see that you're a real person. You actually care about the industry. You're invested. You're trying to learn more. There was a post. I forget who it was. I'm not going to shame them here, but it was a it was a security professional. Might have been a CISO who was basically trying to like poo-poo the salespeople and saying you're not really part of our industry, right? Which is such BS. Salespeople are such an integral part of our industry. We need salespeople. Saying plain and simple. So to me, I would say like anybody in marketing or sales, get active on LinkedIn. Your opinions matters. Your the stuff that you find cool or interesting about cyber, post it. You know, respond to people's posts. Just connect with people. I think I read somewhere it's like less than 3% of people engage on LinkedIn. I mean, that's nuts. That's such a market to be able to build up, you know. Um, but I think that that's big. You're showing people that you are an active member of the community. You're not just looking for a quick buck, and you're going and playing the relational game, which is such a freaking that to me is how you win in the long term. Because I'll tell you, like the same people that did me well at the 600-700 person accounting firm I ran are the same people I brought along for the ride for the big 7,500 person firm, right? So now they're getting contracts that have extra zeros on the end of them. And it's all because they've built trust. They played the relational game. I trust them. They built that over the years. So
Mhm.
that's what it's all about, right? It's like, what do you want? Do you want the quick buck now and then you never get anything back from them? Or do you want somebody that you invest in, might not get something for a little bit, but then when you do, it's going to be bigger or it's going to be longer lasting. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I would say.
Did you happen to land on my company's website after we connected? Did you go by
Uh,
yourself? I'm wondering, if we establish a relationship and we talk and we get on and riff about some things, do you actually take a look at the vendor website?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because one, it's on my time, right? It's like I'm interested about, wow, like, Danny's doing all this cool stuff with, interviewing these people. She's got podcasts and she knows Carlos, she knows all these mutual people. Like you become this much more real person in my mind. And then I naturally become curious about like, well, what is it that she does? Like what, and then I'm going and looking.
Yeah.
That's always interesting to me. And I I'm such a sucker. Like if I post something, it's somebody that I either don't really know that well or maybe it's a new connection. They write a meaningful response to what I posted. That means something to me. I appreciate that you took the time out of your day to write something that's not just like, I love this, or just give me a like or whatever. Like that's great too. But I'm saying like legit, you're writing out a response. I'm gonna click into your profile and see what's up. And click on your see, oh wow, your business development makes sense. You have some really good points and you know, seeing what your company does. So yeah, there's totally a relation there.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
All right, we covered some poor experiences, but I
yeah,
do want to dig into some cardinal rules you think security vendors, marketers, sales, what's above and below and in between are breaking these days.
sure. So you mean like things that are going well or poorly or both?
Cardinal rules they're breaking.
Oh, they're breaking. Um, well, I mean, I know I this is a common one. A lot of us see this is, you know, integrity matters. So if you reach out to me and say you want 15 minutes of my time, that's bullshit. I've never had a 15-minute meeting in my life unless I'm cutting it early. So that's a big one. And integrity goes so far in our industry. So that's a big one. Don't break that. I think also, you know, if somebody's this is more LinkedIn central, but I think it's a good overall concept is if somebody is posting about a problem or something, if you go on as a vendor and you write that you can solve this problem, you're just kind of being an asshole, right? Like that's not the point of this. That's not the opportunity to get in. So to me, that's just a you're kind of breaking that. And then um, cold calling. That's I've never once purchased anything from anybody that cold called me. Um, I think that that's a cardinal rule. If it's just this day and age, I get why it worked in the past. Look, I used to cold call for sure, so I know all about it. But I would say that's one that's don't break that. The success rate on that can't be good. I don't know about if you've had success with cold calling, but it's got to be pretty minimal, right?
No.
If at all.
Best case scenario for me as a marketer, I get a lot of qualitative data and listen
True.
in, but it doesn't really turn into, you know, opportunity at
Yeah.
scale, right?
Mhm.
Maybe sporadically, but at scale when that's the requirement from investors, it doesn't really
Right.
work.
Yeah, and
Um,
also it's like you're catching people off guard, right? And I almost sometimes I feel like that when you're cold calling, you're shooting in the dark. I mean, you're obviously shooting in the dark. Shooting in the dark of one, you're almost catching them off balance and trying to see if you can rope them in for a quick sale while they're off balance. And to me, that's not genuine and that's not long lasting, right? I mean, it's a quick buck here and there. There's no way that's sustainable. And nobody's gonna remember like, oh my gosh, do you remember that one time I got that call out of the blue? Who's that guy? All right, call him back. Maybe I'll buy something again from him. That's never the case, right? It's like, oh hey, I've worked with so and so and they were fantastic and they were patient. Like I have people right now that I've never purchased anything from, and they know that my contract renewal is maybe not up for another year or 2 years, and they're still checking in, sending me cool stuff in terms of like information out there. Like, hey, I don't know if you saw this article. This is cool, or what do you think about this? Like, they're engaging with me on a human level because they know when that renewal period comes up, I'm bringing them into the fold, and we're going to start that conversation. And they have
mhm,
now trust built up that it's not like I only hear from them at the minute I'm ready for renewal, right?
mhm,
So,
mhm.
like, walking.
All right, we're gonna get into the fun part. I mean, this has all been fun, but we're gonna get into the juicy stuff, the shit
Let's
list,
do it.
which I absolutely love. I
Yeah.
want to know what's the worst thing that you've experienced from a vendor.
Oh, damn. Okay. This is gonna riff. I'm gonna riff. I hate. Okay, this hate's a strong word. Um, the value added resellers, the VARs. I have PTSD from dealing with VARs. I mean, I have never once. Well, again, never is maybe a little bit too absolute. Very rarely have I ever actually had value added on anything that I bought from a reseller. Um, like, and it's even worse. I mean, like, I have. Ooh, I'll give you a perfect one. Here's a good one. So I was looking at a product, and I'm going to be super fake here. But I was looking at a product, and I got a quote from them. It was $1 million, and this is somebody that I trust very much, right? It's $1 million. Well, then I was talking to somebody else, another vendor, and they're more of a reseller, and they were saying, "Hey, have you looked at this product?" And it was the same product that just got that quote for $1 million, right? And I said, "Yeah, definitely heard of it, and I'm actually looking to buy it." And he said, "Okay, well, I don't know if you know, but for your size, I'd get you in for half a million." It's like, wait, what? Half a million? I just started a quote from somebody else for 1 million. He said, what? For your size? I'm like, yeah, that's what I got. And anyway, he gave me a quote, exact same product SKUs, exact same everything for literally $600,000 less than the other vendor. And it was like this shock of like, are you shitting me? Like, we have this relationship and you try to gouge me for $600,000 more than, And I mean, it's almost by chance that I even talked to this other guy. So anyway, that was a horrible experience because it just showed me like you still have to do your due diligence on people that you trust, which is a kind of a sad reality. But uh got my heart burning at, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's
My
bummer.
gosh. Well, okay, so what would have been the alternative? I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but let's hear it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like I had the conversation with them after the one that gave me the $1 million quote, and I just said,
Mhm.
"Hey, not gonna lie, man, I'm pretty upset. I just got a quote for the exact same product for 60% less than what you quoted me."
Mhm.
And he didn't give me a good answer, really. So I it just kind of showed where it was at. I think the alternative to me would have been, you know, trying to understand what's the markup initially. Because we all know, like, if you're buying it from reseller, they have to have a markup on it. I don't care. I just want to know what's that percentage. Is it 10%? Is it 20? And then in this case, it would have been at least 100% over whatever, just by nature of what I found out later. So I think that that would have been something I wish I would have done. So if there was more transparency, that's probably the only, I don't know. I mean, when you hear that situation, what do you think that they could have,
Just
the
be
alternative would have
just
been?
just be honest and don't, stiff someone like that. Like,
Totally, for
I
real.
mean,
Yeah, don't be a
what
jerk. Like,
I mean, that they need to make money. So to your
right,
point, just be honest about what you need and let's see if you can make it happen versus,
100%.
and if you've established that relationship, I don't know, I won't speak for you, but if you would have seen the quote, I don't know, maybe you would have gone with more expensive because you had that
Mm.
relationship or
Yeah,
not.
and if,
But
if it was like 100 grand more, I mean, I might have been like, okay, like I understand that, I know this guy and I trust him versus the guy I have no idea, no relationship with. And yeah, it's $100,000 more. I might ask him about it, but ultimately, I'm not gonna, it's not 600 grand, right? Like
yeah,
600, that's just a whole nother
that's
level.
yeah, 100%. All
Yeah.
right, let's flip it on its head. What's one thing a vendor has done that has made you feel good? What worked for you?
Ooh. I would say I really had a wonderful time with the Abnormal team. Um, Shout out to Mike Santilli. But he did a really, really good job of guiding the process. Like never once did it feel pushy, And again, it was like you could tell the minute you talked to him and the Abnormal team that they were just so confident and sure about how damn good their product is that I knew even from the first few times I talked to them, I knew like I bet you this thing is badass. And what they didn't know is I actually heard about the product from another CISO who was like, I don't know if you heard about Abnormal. They're amazing. You should go get it. So I was from a CISO. So I already like went in thinking like this is gonna be pretty cool. But to have the sales team be like, yeah, let's just it's get proof of value. It's very just on my own terms. Didn't feel pushed. And then yeah, like we talked about before, showing the proof of value and then coming to having the numbers come back and being like, hey, you can look at these numbers and ignore it all you want. Like, this is what we found, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, you know, see, so you look at it and you say, well, I can't in good faith look at that and not say anything to my board, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm seeing this. So that was huge. I think that was really good. Also, I do appreciate people that are like, I don't know if you have kids, but like
Mhm.
when you have a kid, I just had a kid 10 months ago. So it's a whole new world. And, I haven't slept in 10 months. But anyway, um, the vendors that reached out and were genuine about like, hey, congratulations, and then there was people that were like sending me stuff. I mean, you know, I'm not necessarily going to put my kid in like a Rapid 7 onesie, right? But like, it's still cool that they at least thought like, hey, congratulations. Like we actually care. That was really cool. That everybody who said something, even if it was just, congratulations, that means something,
Yeah.
that they are a real person and they care about real life.
Mhm.
So that was cool. That was another one
Well,
recently.
congratulations. I commiserate. I know I haven't slept
Yeah.
in 3 years. So,
Oh no, I thought it was gonna get better. Danny, you're killing me.
no,
Oh no,
I always ask people with teenagers, "Does it get easier? Do you
for real.
sleep?"
It's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
hardest thing for me is the lack of sleep. I could get into, like, dinosaur mode, T-Rex
Oh my
mode. It's
gosh.
really bad.
But isn't it amazing how well you can do on such little sleep?
I don't know. It's debatable.
Oh my, you're 3 years deep into this, so maybe it gets worse. Maybe I'm still running on fumes, or it's like, okay. Oh,
You're in the honeymoon phase still
oh
because
no,
it's like,
stop it. This does not feel like
they
a
don't have
honeymoon.
an opinion yet.
Yeah,
They don't tell
that's
you to
true.
they don't tell you to fuck off yet. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, not yet. Oh no. I mean, in his own little baby way, I guess it kind of does, but damn. Yeah, that's a good point. No
that's so
attitude.
cute. No, but you can't kids are amazing,
Yeah,
you
for
can't
sure.
go without
Changes
them.
your life for sure.
Yeah, for sure. for sure. It gives you
Yeah.
so much perspective, for me at least. I think it gave me a
Yeah.
purpose. But
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Big muscles. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, yeah, so we're headed towards the end of the session. I want to ask you one more thing. Is there anything you want to impart on the audience today before we sign off?
Yeah. I guess what I would say to the security leaders, CISOs, anybody who's going up the ranks in security, um, loosen up on the salespeople. I really feel like, as an industry on the internal side, there's a lot of like, we've all seen those posts, right? People are like, "Don't call me, don't text me, don't email me, don't look at me." Like, they just go off on salespeople, and that's unfair. So to me, I think if you're a security executive, give them the time of day. You could still hold your line and tell them what works for you, what doesn't, but at least respond. Just be an upstanding person. Like, everybody that reaches out to me on LinkedIn with a sales pitch, 100% of the time I respond. And I'll tell them simply, like, "Hey, here's what's going on. My budget cycle's this, so I'm not really interested in looking at products yet," or like, just being transparent. Um, so I would say, for security, leadership perspective, you know, respond, don't be an asshole, and yeah, loosen up on them. And then on the sales side, I truly feel like the sales is broken from, it's not a traditional business, right? Like, there's a longer play here.
Hmm.
So I don't know, organizations need to get religion on their sales structures and how they focus on things. Because right now they're all looking at, well, we need to close something this quarter. This is what matters. And sure, that matters, but like, would you guys rather have the long play? And
Hmm.
how do you set up the structure to be cohesive to that? That's an interesting problem. So those are the two things I'd say.
Hmm. Amazing. This has been super insightful, and I'm so glad that we finally connected and
Finally, totally.
got on live. Yeah, and
Yeah,
as always, if there's anything that I could do to help, you know where to find me.
totally.
This was awesome. You're always welcome back to the show.
Hey, same to you. If you have anything, I know you're gonna be trying some new stuff here. So if you need a hand, you want me to look at anything, happy to help out.
I will take you up on that offer.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
All right, Nick. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Audience First. If you like what you've heard, feel free to follow or subscribe to Audience First on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast streamers.